Hi, welcome to my channel, Vegas Plant Girl. I put together a compilation of videos for you as I walk through my local nursery, Star Nursery, and also some big box stores like Home Depot and Lowe's. I did not record every single plant that I came across, but I did cherry pick some of the plants that were new to me or plants that stood out to me somehow. I'm going to be playing the different clips back to back with some soft music, relaxing music, and I'll be talking about my thoughts about the plants and hopefully the names. If I can find the names, I will put them on screen. If you're new to my channel, my name is Rain. I am a new plant parent and I am documenting my journey as I learn how to take care of my plants and as I learn about the different plants that are out there. I have put together this video for your entertainment purposes, but also as a tool for me to learn about all the different plants. If you see any plants that I have not been able to identify and you know the name of it, I would love for you to leave it in the comments down below with the time that you saw it in the video. Not only does that help me, but also other viewers who maybe want to know what the plant is. And now without further ado, please enjoy the video. Wow, this is such a stunning plant. This is the first time that I have seen the Eden Rosso peperomia, and lucky for me, it's in bloom. I love the contrast between the dark emerald green tops of the leaves and the dark red underneath. This plant looks almost prehistoric with its long pale green flowers. Here is the bird's nest fern. This plant looks so happy and fun with its wiggly fronds. I've heard that it is a hardy plant that is easy to take care of, and I'm sure it looks beautiful inside the home. The moonshine rubber plant has beautiful variegation and is strikingly different from the burgundy rubber plant that I own. This is a slow grower, but it can grow up to 6 feet tall indoors. If you're looking for a plant to purify your air, this is a great candidate. Here is the firefly. It's a vibrant plant with a beautiful pop of orange color. Surprisingly, this is related to the common spider plant. These plants do flower, and you will see that later on in this video. To me, the orange and the green of this plant gives it a tropical vibe. Here's a cute little red-edged peperomia. This small plant grows upward and has a mounding habit. It may only grow up to 1 foot tall, so it would be great for small species. It is native to Jamaica and is also a great air purifier. Here's a Dieffenbachia compacta. I've noticed that there's a large variety of Dieffenbachia. This one can grow up to 2 to 3 feet tall. Here is a very cute peperomia, the raindrop. These remind me of lily pads. This was my first time seeing one of these, and I was surprised at how large the leaves were. I may get one of these in the future for the common areas in my home. Here is the Dracaena tricolor. I love the vibrant purpley pink colors in this plant. This tree can grow quite large and is a fairly low maintenance plant. It is also a great air purifier, and a beautiful one at that. Here is another Dieffenbachia. These make great houseplants because they tolerate lower light conditions. The leaves grow very large, so this would make a great floor plant. It is toxic, however, so you would want to be careful with pets or children. There's such a large variety to choose from as far as the variegation and the colors. Here's another one called the Amy. I do not own a Dieffenbachia yet. I'm having trouble choosing which one I like the most. I do love the whiteness in the leaves of the Amy, but I'm also considering getting the camouflage Dieffenbachia. Here is a very simple looking plant, the imperial green, which is a philodendron. Unlike other philodendrons, this one is not a climber, so it doesn't require any support. I have only ever seen a few of these. They don't seem to be all that common. They do tolerate lower light conditions, so I'm considering getting one for myself. Here are a few varieties of Syngonium. I do not know which types they are. They were not labeled. They have thin, crepey leaves, which can grow very large if you allow them to climb up a trellis or a pole. I do own a couple of Syngoniums, and I plan to add more to my collection. Here is an interesting calathea with long, slender leaves and ripples. I do not own any calatheas, and I do not plan to own any of them. I am attracted to their beauty when I see them, but for some reason I don't want them in my home. I'm not sure why. Do you feel like this about any plants? I find it cute that this one has little tiny furry hairs on the stems. Here is a striking calathea with stripy leaves. I find this plant to be beautiful, but I personally am not attracted to the stripy leaves. I do love how the new leaf is unfurling in the middle like a little tube. Here are some cacti and succulents. I don't believe I own any spiky cactuses. I do have a holiday cactus. I do appreciate cacti and I love to look at them, but I don't want to have spiky plants in my home. If I ever did decide that I couldn't live without a cactus, I would probably put it behind glass, but that's just me. Here is another spiky plant, the crown of thorns. I do find this plant to be very attractive. It is very beautiful. These are babies, and when they are fully grown, they are stunning. But because it has spikes, I am not getting one for myself. And here's one of my favorite succulents, the chocolate soldier. I do own one of these. Mine is a baby, and I believe I do have 3 of them. Here is the cinnamon version. I am so in love with the fuzziness of these plants, and they seem to be hardy and fast growing too. This unique plant is definitely eye-catching. It makes me think of Aquaman, and if he had a plant, it would be this. This is a semi-succulent that can grow up to 6 feet tall indoors and up to 12 feet tall in the wild. The fringe of fleshy little leaves is so cute to me. And it's interesting that the stem is 3-sided. I see that it comes in both purple and green, and this may have something to do with sun exposure. Have you ever owned a Venus flytrap? I have. Did yours die? Mine did. I will try again one day, but not today. More succulents, and we are in for a treat because they are blooming. These cute little flowers are bell-shaped and yellow, so happy and spring-like. I will feel so lucky if I can ever get my succulents to flower for me. If you have succulents and they have not flowered, you may want to look into giving them a dormancy period during the winter. Not all succulents come from the same family, however. Some actually prefer to bloom in the cooler temperatures versus warmer. The super fuzzy reminds me of a hand with very large fuzzy fingers. It is very super fuzzy and looks a little wild and crazy. The hairs on this plant seem to be longer and more coarse than on the chocolate soldier. What a beautiful and elegant flower, the calla lily. The deep purple spathe of this plant contrasts perfectly with the green of the leaves. These flowers remind me of the peace lily, although they are different in one major way, in that the peace lily can bloom year-round, while the calla lily blooms in spring and summer only. Contrary to the name, these plants are actually not true lilies. It's interesting that they are related to plants like philodendrons and peace lilies, which are also not true lilies. Calla lilies can be propagated from their seed pods and also from their bulbs or rhizomes. I love the variety of colors that can be found in the syngoniums. Do you own any syngoniums? What type of substrate do you like to use? I think I will try growing some of them in leca and also just in plain water. I've heard that they also like to climb up a pole or a trellis, and their leaves can actually get quite large. It will be fun to experiment with this cute little plant that can be found at reasonable prices. Okay, I'm not sure why these cacti are painted. The colors are bold and bright, and the sign says that the paint does not harm the plant, but I really don't understand what is happening here. Do you know what this is about? This is my very first time coming across a plant like this, the calico kitten. It is so cute. It makes me think that I would find it in some type of woodland grove. I'm sorry I did not get the exact name of this plant. Looking at it in the store, I was not impressed by it, but looking at it now in the videos, I am developing an appreciation for its beauty. Actually, it looks quite handsome. I can see myself owning one in the future. More syngoniums. I do not know if this is called confetti. It was not labeled, but looking online, it looks like it may be a confetti. I love the pastel pink spots and the random pink leaves. Do you have a favorite type of syngonium? I would love to hear your thoughts about this plant down below. The Alocasia stingray. This is such an exotic plant to me. The unique shape and the large size gives it a tropical vibe. Here is another unique plant. It was the only one here and it really stood out. Do you know what this is called? Here's a plant I came across in, I believe, Lowe's. I did not have the budget to purchase this at the time that I saw it. I really wish that I could have taken it. It's such a different looking ficus. The leaves are very thin and small. If I ever see this again and I have the budget for it, I will take it. I love vining and trailing plants. Here are some cute glass misters that I found at Lowe's. Should I get one? I believe this is a white polka dot plant. Please correct me if I'm wrong. This plant comes in many colors. Here is another plant that I did not have the budget for when I came across it. I have only ever seen a couple of lipstick plants in person. Is this a rare plant? I love the patterning on the leaves. I've seen photos of this plant with the red blooming flowers and they remind me of honeysuckles. One of the characteristics that I love about this plant is how the underside of the leaf is very different from the top. This plant is on my wish list. I love the velvety feeling of the satin pothos. I'm waiting until I can find a cutting or a baby plant for $5, but definitely I do see this plant in my future. Here's another beautiful velvety plant that I wish to own, and again, I'm waiting for the right price. I am starting to become a fan of plants that have leaves that can turn bronze in color. Speaking of which, here is another philodendron with the bronze-colored leaf, and it is very similar to the previous one that we saw. I actually almost thought it was the same plant. Here are some cute trees that I found at Home Depot. They look like they might be dracaenas, but I'm not sure because they were not labeled. I love the zenscape that is happening in the pot. Here is another interesting syngonium with narrow leaves. Again, these were not labeled, so I don't know the name of it. It has the same thin, papery texture leaves as the regular syngonium. I would love to get one of these at a lower price, especially if it is labeled with the name. I just like to know the names of my plants. What a cute little succulent that looks like caterpillars. I should get one of these the next time I see one. Alright, so here's a plant that I actually purchased. It was only $6 and I thought it was the perfect specimen. These are interesting trees that have leaves that remind me of lily pads. I am only interested in small plants at the moment, but I wanted to capture this in appreciation. This looks like it is an aglaonema with very simple leaves. I've just learned that aglaonemas can grow offshoots of baby plants from their rhizomes. Here's a plant that was just labeled tropical plants. I do believe that it is a begonia. I live in a desert, so the air is very dry here, and these begonias were looking a little bit sad. The lime green color on the leaves were very vibrant, and they had a red underside, and the stems have little hairs. It's a very interesting plant that seems like it needs more moisture. This one begonia here happens to be blooming white flowers. How cute. I would love to have a begonia one day, but I believe I would need a greenhouse or terrarium setup. The ponytail palm looks happy and fun. I love the fat little trunks, and I've learned that it is actually not a palm tree, but is instead a succulent. I think this would be a wonderful plant to keep in a foyer or the living room. Is this a cutie patootie or what? I can't believe that these little leaves look like bear paws and are also fuzzy. How do I not own one of these yet? Here are more succulents that were not labeled. I'm sorry, I don't know the names of these. I love this cute little flower that resembles a daisy. And there is this strange succulent that reminds me of dinosaurs or rhinoceros. Do you know what this is called? I am thinking about putting together a curated bowl of succulents, but that seems like a daunting project for me at the moment, maybe sometime in the future. This oak leaf ivy is not a plant that I see often, and in fact this was the only time I've ever seen one. This plant somehow gives me a very wild vibe. It has a very woodland vibe to me, and I would love to own one of these one day. I wish I had picked it up, but I do have to pace myself with adding to my collection. I love flowers, but I'm not into flower plants. I love plants that flower. I don't know if that makes sense. And I decided to include this because I am curious about other plant people. Do you prefer leaves over flowers, or do you love both equally? So here is a plant that is flowering at the moment, and for some reason this is more appealing to me than having a flower plant with blooms. I would love to hear your thoughts about this down below. Here are some baby nerve plants that I found at my local nursery. I believe that they were going for about $5. I've seen these come in many different colors. I do not own one yet. It is very cute that they have fuzzy stems. I do believe this is another raindrop peperomia. I have been getting very overwhelmed learning about all the different plants out there, but making this video is helping me to remedy that. If you've made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. I am curious to know if this type of video is useful to you and if I should make more of these. Many of these plants that are found in the nursery and in the big box stores are more common. I do plan to get more rare plants such as alocasias and begonias and anthuriums in the future, but I do still appreciate the more common houseplants that are easy to take care of. I would love to hear your thoughts down below. What type of plants would you like to see more videos about? Do you have a favorite genus? I am still learning about plants, but so far my favorite genera are the Hoyas for sure, the Monstera, and the Alocasias. So here's another beautiful fireflash. I have already shown videos of this, but this one happens to be flowering, so I decided to add this. It's always a fun surprise to see the flowers. Here are some dracaenas that look like small trees. The colors are so beautiful, and this would make a great statement piece in the house. Do you have large plants in your home? And here is a magnificent plant that I have never seen before, the Harlequin cordyline. The leaves are absolutely stunning. Of all the large houseplants I've seen so far, this might be the first one I decide to get for my home, especially since it's currently being offered for only $16.98. These reverse spider plants are so interesting. I love the whites and the pale green colors on these. If I can find a baby one, I will definitely get it. Here's something interesting I've never seen before. Are these spider plant pups? If this is a pup, I think you can propagate this into a new plant. I'm not sure if these are flowers. And here is another Dieffenbachia, the panther. There are so many different types, I'm having trouble choosing one. I would love to see how one of these does in my lower light rooms. And now here is a plant called the pink panther. The leaves on this plant are so tiny. This plant also gives me a woodland vibe, but it is actually a tropical plant. This was my first time seeing this plant, and they did not have many of them. I have not decided yet whether I want one of these or not. They are very cute though. These string of dolphins are blooming with flowers. I have not done well with string of plants so far. I've killed 2 of them, so I will just enjoy looking at them at the nursery for now. Here is an Aglaonema Maria. I do own one Aglaonema. It is a white rain, and it seems like an easy plant to take care of. Okay, so I went to Hobby Lobby and I saw these little cups. They were so cute, and I cannot look at vessels now without thinking, can I put a plant in there? Can I use this as a cover pot? These were all so cute and only a few dollars, and there was even a sale going on, 40% off. I didn't get any of these on this trip, but I will think about it for the future. They were a bit small, and most of my plants will probably outgrow them pretty quickly. Here are some more cacti and succulents. There's so much variety, and I love all the different colors and shapes that they come in. I do wish that they were labeled with specific species names. I do find myself developing more of an appreciation for plants when I know the name of it, and I can look it up online and do some research. Of course, it's not completely necessary. I do believe in love at first sight with plants. This particular plant was labeled. I don't know how to pronounce the name of it, but I do believe it's commonly called elephant's food. I have seen this plant pruned just like a bonsai to look like a mini tree. Here's a fun little woolly cactus. These look like they would be soft to touch, but I would not touch it. Supposedly, the fuzz is actually hundreds of tiny little spines ready to stick to you if you do touch it. The spines on this little cactus are way more obvious. These thorns are not actually thorns, but highly modified leaves, and they look to be the size of sewing needles. This little mound is more compact. Taking a closer look at it, it looks like it has little florets of thorns growing out of it. And it reminds me of those white wigs that judges used to wear a long time ago. What do you think? I suppose you would have to take extra care when repotting a cactus. Besides getting poked by these spiny leaves, I would also be afraid of breaking them, especially on this one. They look quite fragile. Speaking of frail, I have never seen a fern with such delicate and feathery fronds as this one. I am very attracted to this plant, but if I owned it, I think I would feel the need to protect it behind glass. Here is a handsome plant if I ever saw one. It didn't have a name on it, but I think it might be a philodendron mammae. What do you think? Do you know the name of this plant? I believe I found this at Home Depot. I kind of wish I had picked it up. Here's a beautiful shimmery begonia. This was also at Home Depot, and it was not labeled with the species name. I absolutely love the contrast between the silvery green top and the red bottom. This was the only one that they had, and I almost went home with it. I decided against it because I do not have my humidifier set up yet, and I do live in a desert and the air is very dry here. When I am more prepared, I will definitely be an owner of begonias. If you happen to know the name of this species, please leave it down below in the comments. It would be greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.